let's look at the shape before we go to the canvas. Okay, so this, if a rose was facing us straight up, we'd see a circle. Okay, that's what we'd see. We'd see a circle, and we'd be straight down the guts looking at all the shapes inside. And then we'd see petals on the outside, a little bit of wafery bits, but essentially petals on the outside and a bit more colour in the middle. Now, it's not facing us like that. It's actually tipping down. So it's like, you know, if this was a teacup, we're looking at that, the top of a teacup, and suddenly when we turn the teacup down, we're seeing the top of the teacup like that. Okay, so you can see that now, can't you? You can see that's the situation we've got. Only what it is this is actually a rose. So, you know, then we have the pieces coming off the side, down the bottom, round to the side there, and this is darker in the middle. You know, lots of wafery bits here, building up a thickness, but essentially dark in the middle and elliptical instead of a circle. Instead of a circle like that, it's more of an ellipse. So like that. So that's what we're looking for here. You know, with a few pieces coming off to the side. And that is essentially our rose. And in the middle, you can see there's a nice dark bit. It's a couple of bits off to the side. But essentially, you don't want to get too caught up in all that detail. It's lovely and dark, and we can suggest a few shapes inside. Then we've got another petal there, a few coming off there, a little bit of green to the side, a bit of green down here. And then if we want, we can put in, you know, just swoosh some shapes up there. That is our composition. All right, so let's give it a go. I'll show you how that translates onto my canvas. What I love about these cream roses is you get lots of really pale colours that have got, but there's loads of colours in the centre. So I'm not going to start this painting high up. And not only is it an ellipse, but it's an squishy off shape, isn't it? Sort of, if you have a look. So that's the next step, to understand that not everything is just as you perfectly imagine. So there's a bit that comes around there, there's a bit that comes around here, some wafery bits. And we want to see the top of that rose, which will be lovely pales. Some darks in there. We'll work that out in a minute, the other bits. Okay, there's got a lovely bit coming out here. Facing that way. Yes, it's always a case when I'm drawing these things. If the more I look, the more I see. So my first impressions are one thing, and then I usually find there's more to it as well. So it really gets much darker in here. There's another sort of band of stuff in the middle there. So let's just go dark, 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 dark. That gives us a real center there, doesn't it? It's dark again here, but not as dark as in here. Looks like we've got, you know, other pieces, all sort of pointing in really. Another piece, it's like a midway piece. It's not as light as that, but it's light. And another piece there, some light bits here. So once we get the main guts down, we'll be able to see that and pop in some of those shapes. Okay, we've also got a nice piece there. It's all the same. And that's probably about as complex as I'm going to get with the drawing. It's like the leaf is divided into a couple of shapes there. It's nice to suggest some of these other pieces and where another rose starts. You can suggest more roses by just doing a bit. Okay. There's my drawing. Now I've got the drawing here, I'm going to spray it. Okay, give that a second. Whew, smells like a hairdressing salon. Love that. Now, I also might use some medium. 1 second. This is just some gloss medium that goes with acrylic paint to help it flow smoothly. There's my spatula. Let's give that a second. Give it a wave around. Have you ever wondered what these things are that go on the back of your canvas? Basically, they are little wedges. Once upon a time when all our canvases were made by hand, not by machine and stapled and glued. Back in the good old days. I suppose the good old days had their perks and lurks. Okay, if you have a look, like down in the corner here, you can see that there's some lines. So you just basically follow the mitre and pop it into the crack down there. If you want, it's supposed to strengthen the canvas. If you want, you can tap it in. When they used to make them in the olden days, the stretch of the canvas used to rely on having these, but now they make the canvases commercially. Certainly, so now I'm going to follow that mitre and pop that one in. It's a good way to remember it. There you go. So you can do that for all your corners. Follow the mitre. That supposedly holds it nice and tight and locks it all in together. But I don't know. I don't really think they do what they were once intended to do. They're made in a different way. You know, when you go to old art stores in Europe, sometimes they have beautiful canvases that are all made with pieces locking in at the back, and that's what that's about. That's like a beautiful handmade craftsman's canvas. That's what all those shapes at the back are all about. They do look amazing. I should buy one just for the sake of having one, just to show my students. There we go. And if you're really committed, you can tap those in a bit more. Okay, so all you needed was a light spray. What that means is that that's now set. It won't rub, whereas before it was rubbing. You know, you don't need so much that it would interfere with anything with the paint that follows. Just light is good. Now, I don't mind if that shows through. It's all part of the process. This is Bloom's Freestyle. We're mucking around and having some fun here. Rightio, here's my palette knife. I'm going to pick up some medium and I'm going to go in there with the brown and the red. Now, I showed you how to make that. See, when it's just pink or red like that, it's very bright. But when you put brown with it, it dulls it back. So that's why I'm doing that. You could also try a bit of grey if you wanted. Now let's have a look at this. A bit more red than... Let's get a bit of paint in there. I'll put a bit of grey with that as well. It's not completely, oh, we can have a bit of bright in the middle, that's okay. But I do need a bit of dark as well, so there'll be some points where I just leave some dark in the middle there. There's a little bit of dark coming down here. I'll try it with the brown and the pink. Now bear in mind I'm going to cut in on top of this with other layers as well. We just need a couple of little spots that'll break through our next layers that are just showing this nice dark. The skies are rumbling like mad up there with this storm, this Australian tropical storm. Beautiful. I do rather like it. A little bit darker there. We want a couple of good darks to build up in our base. Bearing in mind it looks a little bit over the top at the moment, but of course it's going to change. So this is a bit lighter right here. There's another section in here that is less light. I'm just going to do it as a big shape. Could there be a tiny little bit of gold in there? Something warm. You could have a Cadillac deep, a little bit of gold ochre, something like that, or yellow ochre even, which I'm going to put with the pink. This is a late entry into the colour mixing. I'm just going to put a little bit of that there. And don't forget I'm going to put my whites and things over the top of that. Now I'm going to use a bit of the paler pink with some of that golden colour just down here. I'm going to use some grey with all of that. So we can pick up some grey and some pink. I probably will make a lovely mess of my plate sooner or later. Putting all the colours that I think might come through underneath. Okay, let's do a bit of blue as well. Okay, there's a bit of blue around here. Okay, I've got that lovely pale pink there. And some of that soft blue. Might be nice for a couple of subtle shadows. Or it might be better for the background. Where am I going to put that? Maybe a couple of swipes here. Nice. Now I'm going to put some of that blue with some grey down here. So more blue, grey. Darken that off a bit. Okay, get there. And so just keep it loose. Don't worry it or overwork it. We're just putting in some shapes of, a bit of tone really at the moment. Tone most of all. And we know that there's a bit of a dark bit up there, so we'll go dark. Don't forget I've still got to add the creams, okay? Keep telling yourself when you're worrying about having darks in here, it's okay. Jack has said I've still got to add the creams. It's going to make all the difference. No need to freak out just yet. Good-o. So we're starting to get some colour in there. Now I'm just going to go for it with the grey and a tiny bit of the blue. For in some of these sections here. And then maybe some sand in with the grey, because remember we did that little colour combination earlier. So sand and the grey. It's soon to have the fresh whites on it as well, which will make a lovely difference. I'm going to do actually, you would like some more of the sandy colour up there. Don't want it too dark. Use a bit of that leftover gold that I've got with the grey. Okay, I'm liking that. Okay, a bit of blush there. Starting to put some of this lovely pinky colour in. Just squashed it out to get a bit of the side there. I'll try some rose pink. Maybe mix it with a bit of grey as well, just to dull it off. Don't want it too bright. It's better. The grey to mute the colour a bit. Lovely blush colour. It's not so much one colour, it's the combination of lots of colours. Okay, so there's a lovely bit of pale pink that runs across here. And now I'm starting to get the feeling that I want to put in some white. Oh. Probably before I get too carried away, I should get some of these other colours in here. So I'm wiping off the excess paint off my thing, and I'm going to get some of these dark greens happening. So this is a lovely green, but it will be better with a bit of black in it. It will really darken it off nicely. So let's give that a shot. I like the dark. Okay, well, we'll leave that as a base colour for now. Get rid of that pink that's accidentally turned up in there. It's slightly lighter over here. Take the paint right out to the edge. That's it. And right up to the rose there. You can always add more paint in a minute, but something like that. The other thing I've noticed is that there's Just get really quite a lot darker in here, just a bit of background dark. I might put a bit of that here as well. Okay, so don't forget, we still haven't got all our whites in, but we've got to get our greys in first. That's definitely helped just to get hold the shapes in. Happy about that. We'll put a bit of ochre with some grey. Let's get some of these slightly darker tones up here. Pink in there as well. Pink, grey. I'm at that stage of the painting where it's looking pretty messy, but it's just, I know because I've painted many times that often when you're doing this sort of painting where you let go, it often has a messy stage. So just got to remember we're doing a process where we're putting in all the big shapes first. And how can something look finished if you haven't finished it? So, I can get some of that reflection away from that. Hold on a second. That's better. Tilt that a little bit. So though it's a cream rose, it's got a lot of other colours that help it to be a cream rose. So now I'm still in that part where I'm putting in all the colour, and then I'm going to bring out the highlights here and around here that give us that feeling of the rose. So it's coming, it's coming. You can also go to a palette knife if you want for the smaller shapes. Let's have a look. Actually looks quite nice. Right. So going back to my flower. So there's a lot more light to come through here. There's some grey to happen up there. I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush. And I might find it handy to use, I've got a palette which is still covered in plastic, and I just keep wiping it back so I don't have to clean off a bit of wood. And that works for me. So I'm just going to make something a bit, myself some options for a little bit of shadow colour. That looks alright. I guess what we don't want is to have marks that are too busy. So keeping it simple is good. Let's pick my white up and put it onto this palette because I think I'll find it easier to handle. Okay, there you go. White, I've got a little bit of yellow in it, but it's not going to hurt it. Now, if I'm going to put on a lip of white there and make it a little bit thicker at the edge, I've got to make sure I'm happy with what's just in here. So let's just have a little look. Make sure I've got a decent amount of paint there. I have a bit more of the grey. A bit more white on hand. Okay, let's just try slightly smoky pink for a piece there. Smoky pink is there, that's good. Leave a bit of that dark coming through, I like that. I'm just looking at the picture, I'm holding it right here, and I'm looking and seeing, okay, so there's a few little mysterious shapes in there. I don't want to go too much detail, but I need a bit. So I'm going to darken a little bit in there. And also put in some shapes into that. I've got a couple of those shapes. Don't love how they're ending there, but I'm planning to put some smoky whites there, so that should work. Don't want it too busy either. Have to be careful here. Okay, so how busy is too busy? I probably want to make sure I get some good darks into that crack there. So now I've got something to put a bit of colour into, and still leaving some of the darks between the cracks. That's nice, I like that. A little bit of pinky grey. Okay, the shapes are really nice, but I'm missing my highlights, so time to get stuck in. All right, so I want to pick up a decent amount of paint like that, to slide it about that much, and then I've got something that I can then, you know, looking at the shape of the canvas, I mean of the petal. Okay, so I can do that. Kind of want that to slide back a bit, and I don't want it too busy. That looks all right to me. Don't mind that at all. There's a nice looking petal. Another bit to it here. It kind of comes down to a lovely fine shape there, and squish it around there. Oh, I think I'll just leave it like that. If I fiddle with that, I'll probably wreck it, so let's just leave it there. There's going to be some shapes that'll be a little bit accidental. Around here we've got another beautiful piece that comes right out. Picking up a bit of green by accident there. Now we're starting to get the shape of the rose. The minute those whites come in, oh, I feel a lot better. Now I'm going to need to pick up some more white. I've just got my spatula to the side for the minute. I may not go back to that. I'm squeezing out the white paint I've got here. I'm going to need a fair bit, so I'm just squeezing that out. That's what I'm doing. I was painting late last night, having some fun throwing some paint around. I didn't put the lid on again, so my bad. So I'm just going to squash the paint out of the tube by putting my foot on the heel. Just put your foot on the heel there, so you can use your body weight to push the paint up. That should do it. Okay. I'm going to keep going with this while it's wet. I am thinking I might need a little bit more room. Might have to come out a bit. Okay, so yeah, it's dark in there, so I probably need some more greys there before I pick up that. And take some grey from here. Put a bit of blue in with the grey. Yeah, I like that. Gold. That looks nice. So it's not too busy. I've just actually got rid of a bit of the pink up there. I'm not really going to know till I get the rest of it in. We'll have a look. Okay. Need something greyish there as well. Let's see what I can pick up off my plate. Try and use what I've got. If it's right. Yeah, that's good. It's like it's a bit of a dirty colour, which is good. Okay, so it's not too dirty. It's not too light either. So here we go. I'm leaving that little bit of pink in between because there's a little pink Bit of light down there. I don't want this to be too busy. So I need a bit more paint. Always looking at the picture for what you want to try and achieve. What tone is it? And all that. There's a little bit of light coming in. Now when I put white or close to white in, it will really pop against this sort of putty colour. Should pop nicely. I'll put a bit of highlight there. See, that's in white, how that really picks up. That little point, and there we go. That little waver just stops it just running straight off there. Okay, so I have got an awareness of how the marks work together and how it's helping for the composition. So now I'm going to put that in. There we are. Okay, we need a bit more light coming out from there. So, you know, everything's white. I've got this lovely putty colour as well. And I'm just going to surf on top of that paint there. I just know there's a lovely kind of highlight there. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to try. Oh, just get in the white. Okay, there you go. To go back in again. Okay, it's quite a lot of work to be spontaneous, isn't it? But it's about not overworking things, essentially. Let's put a bit of white up here. That's enough to suggest a bit of petal there. Tiny bit of gold into the paint, tiny bit. Paint's a little bit. I'm going to leave some of those lovely dirty colours there underneath. A bit of guts. I mean, it's great to have creams, but you have to have these support colours too. Okay, it's starting to look like a cream rose now, isn't it? Quite a lot more. Okay. Just want to get that a bit lighter again. Lovely. Because most of the light is just around here. It's not so much in the middle. So you can't start crisscrossing all this white into here. It'll spoil the dimension. But what we do want to get is some of these pieces that form this rim, okay, around here where the light falls on those parts. It'll be enough. There's a bit more light to be had out here, but I'll start working this area next. So I'm past the part where it feels like it's, oh my gosh. So the philosophy is really simple. Get your darks and your midtones in there and then work it from there. So I'm just also going to get some pale pink. I'm out of it from the tube, so I'm going to get some ash pink, which is very similar. Okay, so this is a great colour to have in your toolkit. It's by Matisse. There's other brands, they just call it different things. This one is called Ash Pink. Or you make it yourself and it's simply a bit of pink, white and grey. But nothing like having it done for you. So that's my Ash Pink. I've put a fair bit out. Looking at my picture all the time for advice. What I was thinking was I'm just going to mix it with a bit of a leftover pink I've got there. Make sure I've got good colour up. Yeah. I've got a few mid-tones. Not everything is going to be light, as I said, but we can still get a bit of interest into the shapes in there. So this is like, instead of using a white in there. Okay, so we also want a bit of pretty around here. Some whiffers. Okay, so I'm very lightly suggesting some of these little highlight shapes through here. Using something that's not a white, but it's lighter than some of the tones that I've got in there. Oh, that's too dark. I need to go a little bit lighter. If I put in every shape I see in here, it's just going to be too busy, especially with these kind of fatter lines I'm doing. So what I'm doing is a kind of shorthand. Well, I'm getting a lot closer now. My little blush rose with the beautiful pinks coming through the middle. A little bit of gold. Okay, I want to go bigger on the whites. Okay, so now, not too much paint. Okay, so I've got heaps on the plate, so I'm just going to take a bit. Okay, because I might want to do a finer line. So if I pick up too much, I will wreck that. Okay, so it's not necessarily the same fat size line all the way around. I'm going to put a bit more pressure on it there to make it wider and then thinner. So it doesn't join, but it still suggests. If I just sort of heavily put it all the way around, it's not going to look so lovely. There's a bit of nice light over here. And okay, so I've got to put in something that's not quite white, but it's lightened through there. So I've got to pick up a bit more grey, a bit of blue maybe, a bit of a mix here. A bit more of that leftover blue. Just enough to mute it off a bit. Okay, so we can actually make that a bit thinner. I'm looking at the shapes here, this one coming down here, so I'm going out to a point. And I don't want this to look too busy, so I'm just trying to smooth that so it's not too many lines to make that shape. That looks fresh. Otherwise it looks too busy. Okay, then we need to do one more thing. We need to make a little bit more of that grey. Got a bit more grey there. Not much, but enough. Okay, just to finish this shape in here. Nice. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And then we probably need a bit more blue. I might to get either take everything off the plate there. So I'm going through my plate and scraping off anything that's blue-grey. That could be very good. It's a bit on the sloppy side. But I'll take it. Just looking at this part down here. Not quite like icing a cake. Okay, so okay, so that one came out, so that means that there's probably another one out there, but I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to add more. Except for just maybe it's good to leave some areas that are low rise because it makes the rest look thicker. So what else am I going to do to finish off? I thought there might just been a couple of little highlights in here, maybe a couple more wafers. Surf that paint a bit. It really freshens it to have a few of those little white spots, white highlights. Not too much though, don't go overboard. Just because a couple worked doesn't mean you then go and, you know, do too many. I wouldn't mind a few more wafers around here. Just makes it look more luscious. But really we're on the home run now, and getting rid of that green that's picked up from just underneath. I think I'm just about finished, folks. Maybe I can just enliven my greens a bit. My greens are a little bit on the boring side, but the rest of the flower I really like, because, you know, I've really got the feeling of the cream rose. It's blushing in the middle. That's what we want. It's nice, and it's got some good darks in there. Maybe another little bit of white there. Seems to kick out there a bit. It's nice like that. And also one there. I should probably stop. Oh, except for my greens. Okay, remove that to plate. Okay, I've got a good dark base in. How do I feel about something a bit fun in there? Well, I like it a lot better than the plain green. Plain dark green. It's good to have a few different shades in there anyway. Oh, it's a lot prettier, isn't it? Another colour that goes great with the greens is a bit of ochre. Oop. Shiver my timbers. I do like that. I think it is a little bit darker up there, and I've just lost some of that dark. So let's have a last look at that. It's gone a bit light. If I actually look at the photo, you can see the photo and that top petal, and I'll show you which one it is. That one there, and then you look at the painting here, it's a bit light. So what just looking at tones, tonal values. Yeah, it's a bit more drama. I like that. Okay, better stop. All right, that is it for the blush rose. Let's see how that dries. That has taken us from start to finish just under 56 minutes. So you do need to work it while it's wet. Some of my paint is going quite a way over here, so I might just take that off, because that will be a problem if I try and put it in a frame. So let it dry and then I'll whack a glaze on it and that will be it. Hope yours goes well too. Remember, don't, keep the marks light. Try not to overwork them. Get your nice rich area of colour in here. Just because it's a cream rose, it doesn't mean it's all cream. Reserve your whites till very last. So I've got these other putty colours and so on in there as well. Okay, let's go in for a close-up just before we finish up. Okay, a really good look. Blush cream rose.